it'll go out with the CL-215s. It's generally the first airplane at the fire that goes with the group. And they'll assess the fire and determine how to fight the fire with the best way of action in it. There's generally 2 people in it. There'll be the bird dog pilot and the bird dog officer. And like I said, once they get there, they'll be assessing the fire and start dropping on it. Once the fire is knocked out of the trees, then they send in the ground crews, and the ground crews will actually put out the fire.
Actually, I'm a air attack officer. My name is Don Borgerson. I've been working with the government of Saskatchewan for about 18 years. And my role in the organization at this time is, as an air attack officer, is we direct the use of the tankers over the fire, as well as maintaining the group in a state of readiness, which is set out in morning briefing by an alert system. So basically what we do, you've been getting a little bit of background on the organization, but we ride in the bird dog aircraft, which is the smaller lead plane, as it is known in some areas. And it has a pilot on board who pilots the aircraft, and the air attack officer who decides on how the fire will be approached. Now, with the air attack officers, we all come from ground time. That's where we learn how fire works and how it can develop in different terrain and fuel types, which is what we describe the trees as, and the burning characteristics that go with it. So with the knowledge we gain on the ground, working our way up through the system, by the time we get into the aircraft, then the knowledge is there, and we're able to make the decisions and decide how best to approach the fires. So there are 2 different types of basically aircraft that we use. There are the land-based, the Convairs and the trackers, which haul long-term retardant, a red liquid that can stay effective on the ground for as long as a month, depending on moisture. It's moisture that breaks it down. But they are land-based. They are required to come back to a tanker base, such as this one, and be loaded by an individual known as a loader here. And then they would fly back out to the fire. That is usually used in an indirect attack for such things as building line and supporting backburns and that type of thing. The other aircraft we work with are the amphibious CL-215s, which scoop water off the lake. Though they do land at the end of the mission and fuel up here, they do all their water pickups out in the open lakes in the north here. The concept with them, as opposed to long-term retardant, is liters per hour, which is putting as much water onto a fire in the shortest period possible. Our whole goal as air attack is to contain that fire through what's known as the first burn period, which is the first 24 hours of that fire's development. And if we can hold it through our 4-hour missions to that point, then we consider ourselves successful for our portion of it anyway. So, as I said, we all come from the background from the ground. There are 9 of us, and we rotate through, so we do not get stagnated or stuck with a specific type of aircraft. What we do is we rotate, and we would work with foam one shift. The following shift we work with the long-term retardant, and then foam and retardant, so we work with all different aircraft through the summer. We run a same type of period of employment as the tankers, and we do have extra work we do in the fall as well. So,
like Don said, these are the Barons. These airplanes here, bird dog with the 215s. And then the Convairs have another type of bird dog. It's a lot faster. It's a Turbo Commander. It's a turbine engine. It keeps up with the Convairs, so they get to the fire at the same time. Nobody's waiting for anybody. And they're really good for long distance shots. Those Convairs, the concept behind them is they're capable of going out of province, out of country. They're more suited for flying fires in the mountains and that type of thing. These things here, they can fly in the mountains too, but they're really restricted to the performance because of the radial engines. Once we put turbines on them, they'll be a lot more user-friendly as far as the terrain that they can go into. And then, of course, they're going to be a little bit faster, be able to get to the fires quicker, and still have the ability to slow down to be effective on a drop. So this is a CL-215 Canadair. The water is entered into the water tanks that are inside the airplane. They're two 600-gallon tanks, one beside the other. And the doors that are open down there, that's where the water would come out. And right behind those doors, there's two 6-inch probes that the water is forced into and up in the tank when the airplane's on the water and scooping.
So you said these were designed for water bombing kind of thing?
That's right, yeah. These, Canadair had designed these airplanes specifically to go and pick up water and drop it on a fire.
So it looks like it's like grooved perfectly here at the front for a...
Absolutely. It's just like if you went in to a boat show, you'd looking at this, it looks just like a boat. It's
yeah.
Exactly the same thing. It's got a step compartment that is actually in the water. Behind that, the rear part of the hull is actually out of the water. So the most important part of the airplane when it's scooping is right at the very back of the step, and that's where the probes would come down. Okay. So this is what we call the probe. When we go into the water, these doors are shut, and the water scoots into here, and it goes right up inside the tank.
So it's not a very big vent that
Nope,
they pick up.
Very small. If it was any bigger, the airplane would come to a stop on the water, right?
Yeah.
So they don't need much for the water to get in, because we're picking up at 80 knots. That's about 90, 95 mile an hour. So it goes in a hurry. 8 to 10 seconds, the tanks are loaded. So depending on how much fuel we have, we can lift the probes at any time we need to stop the water from going in. But generally, two 600-gallon tanks, that's 1,200 gallons, we can load it between 8 and 10 seconds. Wow. On the water. Yeah. We have a lot of fun with them. They're 12,000 pounds of water that'll come out. So
wow.
You think of that in inside of the vehicle. There's quite a few vehicles you're dropping at once. So you don't want to be underneath it. It's really important to make sure we know where the ground crews are. Every now and then somebody they'll get a bit damp. We're trying to contain a fire that there's men working on. Getting them away from the fire too far is going to be well, it's just going to make it a little tougher, right? So we like to keep everybody in the same area.
Yeah.
We have helicopters that are working in the area all the time. They will bring men in, equipment in, and bucket. They'll put their buckets on so we can get them bucketing, and we try to keep them guys working with us as well, because it really makes it efficient. Because it is an enjoyable job. I really enjoy it. Yeah, for sure, for sure. So, if you like to have a look inside, I'll open it up and do that. Definitely where the air tack does some of the traffic control, but here in Saskatchewan, that's what we found is we've been trying to keep the pilot doing that. The air tacks know, they've been doing it for so many years. They have a really good understanding of how the traffic goes, so they can tell if it's getting too much or if you can handle more. And so it's not like you have to tell them something they don't already know. Yeah. So it's a 2-crew operation in the Bird Dog for sure. Mm-hmm. And this airplane's 2 crew. There's 2 people that fly it. One pilot handles the aircraft as far as the wheel goes. The other pilot will control the throttles. And there's constant communication. It's all followed with the checklist, so we don't miss anything. And that's how it works. A lot of fun. We